Mics are on. Who do I have on the telephone lines?
John McAllister.
Welcome, Trustee McAllister.
Ryan Jacobs.
Welcome, Trustee Jacobs. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 28th, 2018 public session, and I'll ask us to stand for the singing of Old Canada. I got an opening in the band for you, Director. Okay, I'll ask the Director to do roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, trustees. This is our roll call for our meeting of 28 March 2018. Trustee Armour.
Present.
First Vice Chair Karkner.
Present.
Trustee Cram. Trustee Jacobs.
Present.
Trustee Wendy McPherson.
Present.
Trustee Bill McPherson.
Present.
Trustee McAllister.
Present.
Second Vice Chair McDonald.
Present.
Chair McMillan.
Present.
Trustee Richards.
Present.
Trustee Swan. Student Trustee Marshall Wilson.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the agenda that the Upper Canada District School Board approve consent agenda item 3.02 to 3.03 March 28th, 2018 as submitted. Moved by Trustee McDonald, second by Trustee Richards. I'll ask you to cast your votes, please. Trustee McPherson, so that's good. Everyone's in. That carries. Thank you very much. Do we have any conflict of interest declarations? Seeing there are none, we're moving on to report from the private session, March 7th, 2018, and at its Committee of the Whole meeting in private session, March 7th, 2018, there were 4 property matters were discussed and 3 recommendations are brought forward to board. So I have 3 motions, and we'll take one at a time. The first motion is that the Upper Canada District School Board approve resolution PS 218 March 7-002 approved or carried in the Committee of Whole private session under agenda item D1 March 27, 2018. I need a mover, Trustee Karkner and Trustee Wendy McPherson. I'll ask you to cast your votes on that, please. And that carries. Thank you very much. Trustee McAllister, is it good? Everyone's in. The second motion is that the Upper Canada District School Board approve resolution PS 2018 March 7-003 carried in Committee of the Whole private session under agenda item D.2 March the 7th, 2018. Again, I need a mover. Trustee Bill McPherson, Trustee Richards seconded it. And I'll ask you to cast your votes, please. And Trustee Jacobs, I assume. That carries. Thank you very much. And the third motion that the Upper Canada District School Board approve resolution number PS 2018 March 7th-004 carried in Committee of the Whole private session under agenda item D.3 March the 7th, 2018. Again, I need a mover. Moved by trustee Karkner, seconded by trustee Armour. And I ask you to cast your votes. None of the votes are coming up. Can I just
I'm in,
show of hands in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, trustee McAllister. And that takes us to our first delegation and presentation. So we have just one school tonight. We did that simply because we had some other business that's no longer on the agenda. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask our superintendent, Ron Ferguson, to introduce the principal, Suzanne Morrison, from Thousand Islands Elementary School. I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to welcome Suzanne Morrison to the table. She's from Thousand Islands Elementary School, also known as TIES. She's new to the school this year, and she's been working very hard to get to know the community and the staff and continue the great work that's been done at TIES. So I'll turn it over to
Thank you.
Principal Morrison.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me to share with you the wonderful things about my new school. So like Mr. Ferguson said, we're in Lansdowne, quite a new school, built in 2005, and it is in the rural place of the Thousand Islands, gorgeous property, beautiful community, very highly supported. I can't say enough about the community and how they support the school. Lansdowne in itself is a very active community, very involved with a lot of youth programs to support not only the school but other programs as well. And I'll share a little bit about it when I get to my last slide, which is always the best one, I think. So we're 80% bused. It is a French immersion, fully French immersion school, so kindergarten to grade 6. Children have the opportunity to be in either the regular program or the French immersion program, and it is almost half and half. With almost 340 kids, 180 are in core, almost 140. That's this year. And volunteers, we have a number of dedicated volunteers who come in quite regularly to support many programs that go on in our school, not just academics, but also helping us with Scholastic Book Fair and our building our eco birdhouses and things like that. Very active in the evening hours as well. Every night there is a group that comes in to do something, basketball, there's seniors who walk the halls, there's lots of other things that go on in our gym, so very, very active school. If I look to our scores, I can brag, although again it's not really me, I've only been there for 7 months, maybe a little bit longer now, but the team at TIES is a very dedicated team. We don't have a lot of transiency. Most kids who start with us finish with us. The staff are incredibly dedicated. I cannot speak enough to what they do and how they support kids, and that's reflected in our marks. So in all the areas, we are above the province in all of the 6 areas in ECREO. Unfortunately, math continues to be an area that we are also, with the province, the trend, an area of concern, which I will address in more detail in a second. So with regards to our literacy SIPSA, we're looking at, it's really hard when we're at 91% in our grade 3 and 6, so how do you develop a plan? Well, we're looking at trying to continue to encourage students to be the best that they can. And one of the areas that we noticed was that they're not confident. Even though they have those marks, our data showed us that 51% of the students didn't think they were good writers. But they clearly are good writers. So we decided to think, how do we support the students to think that, oh my goodness, I really am a good writer? And it came down to, if we co-construct the success criteria with our students, and they're very clear, and the students then can see, oh yeah, I do that, I do that, I do that, that will improve their confidence. And so the slide in front of you, you can see we use colors to reinforce that, so that we're trying to get students to be self-assessors, and they would then use the color to correspond to the success criteria and see, oh yeah, look, I use details, so I underline in black. There's the supporting evidence that I use to support the point, and that's how we use those colors. continuing on with that, it's the same idea. Oh, too fast. With the math, again, we found that our students are capable of solving the skills. They have the skills in math to solve basic equations, and so they're not lacking in their skills. But when we put it in a word problem, it becomes very challenging, and that's where we're focusing our attention, and we're using the same colors. So if you take a look at the first picture, that's co-constructed success criteria again with the students, and we have them the same. So in literacy, when you're trying to pre-plan what you're going to write, you use red. That's how you're keeping all your thoughts. That's the red color, we focus on it. And the same in math, so that we're trying to get how do I solve the problem? What is the problem asking me to do? That's the pre-planning of solving the problem. So it's red. And so it was really neat when I went in and I was helping the teachers. We partnered up and we were trying to present this to the students. One of the kids in the grade 5 class said, "Hey, they're the same colors." I went, "You're right. What do you think about that?" That's a really neat observation. And then we had a little chat about how do the colors, how do they coincide? And you can't really see very well detailed, but we use math journals. And again, it's a self-assessment piece. We figure that, if the teacher's just over there saying, no, if you do it this way, you need to do it this way and change it and do it this way, that's not working. So we need to get the kids to be able to self-reflect and say, oh, this is what I need to do. So we use math journals, and the problem then is posted. The kids solve the problem. The next day, they come with their different colors, and they indicate how did they support solving the problem. And so blue is the last thing, did I write a sentence? So if they didn't write the sentence, then they write the sentence in blue. And so it's, again, reflection. So when they do the next problem, they'll see, oh, yes, I forgot to write my sentence. I need to make sure that I write my sentence the next time. And so we're finding that the students are becoming much better at being able to solve a math problem. And we're really hopeful that that's going to show up in our next EQAO results. The next one is our wellness and student voice. And so one of the things that I do is I have a student stand-up group, and there are 11 students from grades 4 to 6 in this group, and I meet with them once a month, and we have lunch. The first time I meet with them, we take a tour around the school, and I say to them that I have been in school forever. I've never left school. I love school. I see school from my perspective. And I'm an adult, and I don't see school from your perspective. And so I need you to tell me what school looks like from your perspective. And so we do the little walk around. And one of the things, that was the first day, I said, come back, think about ideas. They already had ideas. One of the first things that they told me was that the water pressure on this side of the school is not as good as the water pressure on this side of the school. So that when we leave class, we have to go to that water fountain. It takes us longer, and we're not supposed to, because this is our water fountain. I said, okay, let's find out. And they indeed were absolutely correct when I said, can someone tell me about the water pressure? Yep, the water pressure on this side of the school is definitely not the same as the water pressure on this side of the school. It was adjusted to the best that we can without making this water fountain spill out over to the floor. This water fountain was adjusted. So the kids certainly can tell us information. There's an ideas box you see there. One of the ideas was to have a debating club, managed to partner up kids to have, we now have a big brother, big sister person who's coming in and doing a debating club with the students. So student voice is definitely something that I would take very seriously. They helped me create a student survey that we did in the fall, and we looked at the results together as a group with our safe and inclusive school team. And the results, some of them are up there. There's students like our school. 48% of them said that one of the best things about ties, not prompted, was that it's a kind school. So that to me says a lot. Other things about wellness, we have many, many clubs, many intramurals going on. I have grade 6 leadership points, so grade 6s get to earn points towards their end medals, and they support everything from the Eco Club recycling. They do reading buddies at recess. Grade 6s go out on the yard and help ref primary soccer games, and they help in the community. We have lots of things going on with our parent council. They earn all these points, and it's really nice, because I like to see that students can be involved as much as possible in our school, and that makes our school better. The last one, we just actually had our very first, so the first picture up there, the Queen's Tinker trailer came to our school on Monday. We are the first Upper Canada District School Board to partner up with NSERC, which is the Natural Science and Engineering Research Council at Queen's, and they come and do. Oh, sorry. They come and do STEM activities with our grades 4 to 6 students once a month. They come, and so the trailer is a sort of a makerspace, and the kids are building all the electrical things. They had all the bits, and they were making whatever they decided to plan. That's one of the sections. They also are doing a robotics section in our class with these. They're amazing. I wish I could be a kid in my school right now and learn this stuff. That to me is one of our benefits to where we are. We're very close to Kingston, and we can benefit from that type of resource coming to our school. The other picture is a walking path, so you'll see that we have got a lot of money for building a walking path, and this is a community partnership as well, where the idea is to have a path around the outside of our school along the fence line, and it's going to emulate what the walking across Canada eventually it will look like, so that as you go into the different parts, there'll be a little thing about what does British Columbia, what are the facts about British Columbia, and there'll be signs, and those will be made by students, because we think that the students need to be part of this. The ECO team is hugely involved with this project as well, and so we're really hoping that will get started soon. And the bottom picture shows the Cenotaph Fund and all of those, there's sponsorships from organizations, from businesses, from actual people, just people who live in the community and support the school. There is a lot of support that goes on with regards to the Cenotaph Fund, and that's a really big event that takes place around Remembrance Day. We have all the seniors come into our library. There's a tea. It's remarkable. It's very well done. I can't say enough about the support that we receive from the community, because it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to comments and questions. I'm going to start with Trustee McAllister on the line.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, Principal Suzanne. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, John?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to congratulate you and your predecessors and the staff on such a great little school community. I refer in particular to the support that you get from this community. I refer to the volunteers, the Lansdowne Association for Revitalization, the Cenotaph Fund, the Lansdowne Community, Frontenac Biosphere, and the most generous and committed to our school council. Having said that, here's my question, Suzanne. I looked at your school, HIPSA, the School Improvement Plan for Student Achievement. Could you tell me or tell us as a trustee group how you communicate the HIPSA and collaborate? You know, how do you communicate that to parents and the larger community?
I'm sorry.
I think, Trustee McAllister, it was difficult. It's not that you are mumbling. The phone itself is. It was hard to be very clear in terms of what you're asking.
Okay, I'll try again.
Okay.
I look at your school's school improvement plan for student achievement. Could you tell us how you communicate this plan to parents and the community at large?
Oh,
Thank you, John.
through you, Chair.
Yep.
It is definitely posted on our website, and it is spoken to at parent council meetings about what our plan is, and the work that is done in school on a regular basis goes home, and parents get to see what the focus is for what we're doing. I'm not really sure what else, Mr. McAllister, are you looking for something other than that?
No, that's fine. No, I know you have a very active and detailed student improvement plan, and I know it's obvious, and that's good. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Trustee Karkner.
Through you, Chair, I'm quite interested in this walking trail. Who created the idea for the provinces to make it a walking path of Canada? Where'd that idea come from?
Through you, Chair. You know what? I can't actually pinpoint. The walking trail was something that the planning has gone on before I came there for sure. And when one of the teachers was telling me about it, I remember just asking, what is the student involvement of this? Like, how are the students being involved? And she had told me that the eco team had talked about it, and I said, she told me this idea of walking. They had come up with a walking to map like Canada, and with the signs. And I said, oh, that's awesome. So the kids are going to create the signs, and she said yes. So I believe all that work was done ahead of me. I can't take any credit for it whatsoever. Yeah, like I said, it's an incredible place. The staff there and community are amazing.
Great.
Thank you. Trustee Bill McPherson.
Thank you, through the chair. Didn't even have to look up the slide, it's right there. How did you get $10,000 out of your township funds?
Again, I can take absolutely,
Because
sorry, through you, Chair. I can take absolutely no credit for it. It's been a gift. I just walked into this incredibly well-established plan, and
so I suppose that's a good example of the amount of support you're getting from that community.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Trustee Wendy McPherson.
Through you, Chair, do you know if that Queen's Tinker Trailer, if that goes any further than your school, like, or to benefit the rest of us?
Through you, Chair. I do not know the answer to that. I know that we have one of my teachers has a husband who is an associate dean of engineering at Queen's University.
Okay.
So I'm thinking we had a little bit of pull there.
You were thinking of driving the bus further east?
Trucking.
Here you go. Any other comments or questions? You know, I know you were a part of the Brockville family for some time, and it's obvious to see that our loss is another school's gain. So thank you so much for everything you're doing in your area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Safe travels, by the way.
Thanks.
Moving on to the next item, we're looking at a financial report number 2, and I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent of Business, Bob Baxter.
Okay. The financial forecast number 2 reflects the updated enrollment projections as of February 2018. In addition, this consolidated forecast reflects input from the department and school budget owners regarding their budget plans for the remainder of the year, as well as recent financial projections from UCDSB's related parties, i.e. STO, Upper Leisure Canada, and Champions for Kids. Having said all that, and that's all the assumptions, to put it up front, caveats if you will.
Oh, Bob, can you just lift your mic up a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
Is that what you're getting at? There we go. I mean, we could hear you, but I doubt very much online they could.
I apologize for
No
that.
problem.
Okay. So overall, the fiscal outlook remains stable. We had come in, let's see what we have here. We're just showing you the times that we come to the board, and you're familiar with this exhibit. And right now we're looking at March, and you see the circle. We're here for forecast number 2. And then here we have the pupils of the board and other pupils, grand totals, their combined totals. And you can see that elementary hasn't changed much. Secondary has gone down 15. And adult day school, continuing ed, summer school has gone down 54. And you're going to see that reflecting in some of the financial numbers as we move forward. And a little bit of the exhibits down below on the enrollment, and really in the scheme of things, it's not much of a change. Okay, now we break it out between pupils of the board and other pupils. And you can see the pupils of the board, the line adult day school, continuing ed, summer school, 605 in forecast number 1 and 551 now. And that's a drop of 54 as we saw before. The other pupils haven't changed much, and really only the secondary has gone down a bit. Okay. So the revised budget financial forecast number 1 had a surplus of 901,000, and the financial forecast number 2 has a surplus of 508,000. So a reduction of 392,873. And the thing is, you have to put this in the perspective of a 362 million budget. It looks dramatic because the numbers are small and we're close to zero, and that seems to give it added importance. But in reality, this number can change when we get to forecast number 3, and it could go back up to where it was. We might uncover something. I mean, we go through and do our due diligence, but sometimes the budget owners are optimistic. They feel that they can spend something before year end. No. I just look to see if I had support for that comment from my SO friends. But anyway, sometimes they'll be optimistic and they'll hold back because they really feel they can spend the money. But with the amount we have in budget, we could end up having a bit of an increase. Here, change in GS funding, pupils of the board, as we saw, the continuing ed students, change in GSE funding, minus 0.1, that's 190,000. Special ed, we added 10 educational assistants in this forecast, so that's 150,000. And consolidated organizations, they came in for 80,000 decrease. And then on the positive front, the departments and school budget forecast are 20,000, and the continuing education, there was, I mean, the numbers went down for continuing ed, but their budget went down as well. And it's not maybe shown as clearly there, but it was around 40%. Okay. And I think it's not easy to spin on a dime to adjust to enrollment reductions. So we can expect a lag. And we don't know if the expectation is that it'll increase for next year, and do we want to disassemble something that we're going to need next year. So all told, surplus deficit is 400-some thousand there. And here it's just showing the total. As I said, 360 million, but 363 million. And expenses for compliance purpose, 362. And so 508 we're now at. And we're within compliance threshold, 1% of operating. And that would be within 3.2 million. And then we just show where we are in the surplus. And it hasn't, I mean, that's a pretty compressed chart, but it hasn't changed that much. Here, the detail of the accumulated surplus and deficit, and we did have 6.3 million, and we went to 6.9. We did have 3.1, and we're now at 3, for a total of 9.4 to 9.9. And then we had unavailable for clients from compliance 5.1, and that changed by 3.6 since the last forecast, and that gives us 51.5 as an offset. And total accumulated surplus deficit 4.3, it's gone up to 8.4. So we do have surplus funds. I could insert there that the ministry has a plan for boards that have excess funds, and it's the cash management service or something. And this has to be confirmed because we're just going through, and maybe my compatriots here will keep me honest, but they are looking at boards that have excess funds sitting idle, in their opinion, and when they fund you, if you have excess funds, they're proposing that they'll reduce the funding amount. They won't give you money if you have money sitting doing nothing. So they won't give you the money, but what they will give you is a receivable from the Government of Ontario. And the reason they're doing this is the Government of Ontario is borrowing money at a high rate, and we're making a low rate of interest on the investments we have, their boards, school boards have. So they've developed this. It's early days. I see that there's a meeting coming up with the SBOs and the ministry staff to talk about this. So it will be interesting to see if they continue on or if they change their thinking in any way. A lot of times some boards will keep excess funds in anticipation of building. Not too often anymore, now that they fund capital projects so much. But I guess if you could get ministry permission, perhaps. So anyway, we have the funds, and that's where it sits, and that's it. So not a lot of change, and since we were here, in January, it's only been a couple months, so you shouldn't really expect a lot of change. This is more a fine-tuning, although this time we tend to go out more and get outside opinions on what the financial forecast for the different departments will be. Whereas maybe earlier in the year, we would have made estimates. But now we're getting closer to the year end, or the end of the school year anyway, and we're being more, we want to search out any large adjustments. I wouldn't really call these large adjustments, a lot of them, but they are what we have right now.
Okay, thank you. Can open it up to comments or questions. Trustee Bill McPherson.
Through the chair. So what you're saying is some boards have substantial monies in reserve that they haven't spent. About 15 years ago, we had a massive clawback in some boards, in particular this one, wherein they clawed back $10 million that we had not spent. Do you see that scenario rolling out again, or is this simply another way of acknowledging the fact that some boards are sitting on money? Maybe I'm not being entirely clear, but...
No, through you, Chair. There are boards out there with excess funds, obviously, because the ministry's taken the step to reach out and get their monies. But they must have learned from their experience 10 years ago when they got such a reaction in the special education area. And now they're saying, we'll give you a receivable. So you still have it. But what will be interesting is what criteria they place around us accessing the funds represented by that receivable. I'm not trying to, scare people or anything, but the reality is they're desperate for cash. And it's not the Ministry of Education, it's the province of Ontario.
Thank you. Trustee McDonald.
Thank you. Just your first point about, not a huge adjustment, but certainly, or shouldn't expect to see much, but typically the reason why we see a difference here is that we're dealing with enrollment figures for the next semester, right? So that's where we want to see if we've had an increase or an exodus of students, because that's going to determine the financial future for the next 6 months or the remainder of our fiscal year. But you mentioned also, or you talked a bit about some projects. So do we still have projects that have not yet started? And if they haven't started yet, I would question then the details of those projects. If we haven't started them to this point, do we still need to complete them, or can we expect that those projects will be postponed? Now, I would expect that maybe capital projects would be done over the course of the summer months, but if we have other projects that are being done in other departments, which are education front facing, we only have a few more months of kids in school, so do we have expenses that are expected to come from those departments that have not yet been materialized?
You want to start and then we'll turn it to Bob?
Mr. Chair, through you, at this point, apart from the capital projects that were identified, we're not anticipating any further expenses or rollouts that may have a cost associated with it. Well, always our wild card in any given year is special education needs and support. The board will recall from last year that, and not unlike this year, that we put in additional support for students who arrived at our schools and weren't anticipated, or that through trying to provide and update their IEP, that or their individual education plan, that we've added some support as we got towards the end of the school year. But we don't anticipate at this point any additional hires, and we don't anticipate any other kind of projects at this time.
My question really wasn't around new projects. It was around projects that had been in the budget but yet not yet started. So if we are at this point in our year, if we haven't started them and we still have that unallocated expense sitting there, then is there a need for that expense? Or should we be reevaluating those projects in the future? Because if we haven't spent it by now, and I go back to the education facing, then that means we haven't met the needs of our kids if we haven't spent the money up to this point.
Mr. Chair, through you, that's a good point. The only projects that we have on the horizon that we haven't invested in the commitments yet would be any kind of summer learning, and we are currently trying to finalize that over the next, I'd say within the next month, we'll finalize those details.
Yep.
If there's no one else, I'll ask another. Yeah. Is there?
Are there any other, yeah, we'll hold off for a second. Any other questions? Yes. Anyone on the phone lines? Okay, Trustee McDonald.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Superintendent Backstrom, and it's not around necessarily the financial forecast, but it leads to that point that you talked about cash management coming from the province. Was there any indication as to a threshold that they were talking about for large balances? Have they indicated what they consider to be large?
It's, through you, Chair, it's early days, and they're going to be sitting down to put out the guidelines and details behind this, and they're reaching out to the superintendents of business for input on it. So other than stating it in the B memo that we got the other day, they haven't provided any details.
Yeah, just to follow up, when you say receivables, so that, can you walk me through the process then? How does that impact the board if we're meant to reduce those levels of funds? The way our accounting system works, they're not old reserve funds, right? We can't use them in year. We have to go into a deficit situation and then use our surplus the following year to offset the deficit. So is that still the same, or is that how this receivable would assist us in making sure that we have the ability to use those funds in year?
Through you, Chair. Again, there's been very few details on this. It's early. We've only had the vague reference in the B memo 2 days ago, and we're waiting to see just what sort of criteria for inclusion are there. So all we've heard is some whisperings from the people that are leading it on the business superintendent side.
Okay, so something to keep our eyes on. We'll wait for the story to unfold. Thank you. Trustee Kirkman.
Chair, I'm not sure whether Superintendent Baxton can answer this one, but perhaps someone has the answer. I noticed the decrease, and you've alluded to the decrease in the adult ed continuing ed program in the last semester, or this one. Is there an explanation for the exodus, or is this natural numbers from previous years? I don't know who's going to answer it.
Well, I'm looking at Superintendent Mills, who's shaking his head.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
So, with administration at TR as the superintendent responsible, we have analyzed that. There are a couple of things to consider. One, we've looked at the employment rate. The unemployment rate is down across Eastern Ontario and across the province, and maybe an indication that not as many adults are going back to school. Also keep in mind that those are the first semester numbers, and we've been mindful to, with administration, with staff, reaching out to ensure that not only we sustain our numbers, but that we have the potential to recoup those numbers in second semester. So it's difficult. While it's not a good news story at this point, it's also difficult based on the clientele under 21 and over 21 that are doing Con Ed to predict exact numbers. So I'm hoping we come back to you with the next at the end of the year with the numbers back up.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, do you find the minimum wage increase a factor, or might it be a factor?
Through you, Chair, it's so new that it would be difficult to predict, but it's something I can bring forward to check through administration with the various campuses in their communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is the 2018-19. It's hard to believe, 18-19. Well, school year calendar. I'm going to turn this over to the Superintendent of Schools, Ron Ferguson. Superintendent Ferguson, it's all yours.
Thank you.
Oh, before we do that, I should put the motion on the floor. Okay, I'm going to put a motion on the floor, and then I'll let you do the discussion. This motion is the Upper Canada District School Board approve the 2018-2019 regular school year calendar for submission to the ministry by May the 1st, 2018. Do I have a mover? Trustee Carter, seconded by Trustee McDonald. And then I'll turn it over to you now, Superintendent Ferguson.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So the 2018-2019 school year calendar draft, the feedback that was provided, certainly many people have contributed to this, and it's been, I can't really think of too many stakeholders that haven't had some input into this calendar at this point. So here is the calendar, the draft for 2018 and 2019, and I will provide some key dates and kind of walk through some of those. So important dates, perhaps the most important date for some, first day of school, September 4th, 2018. And then for other people, maybe the most important one, the last day of school for students, June 27th, 2019. And last day of school for our staff, June 28th, 2019. For secondary, semester 1 in the proposed calendar will run from September 4th, 2018 to January 31st, 2019. And semester 2 would then run from February 1st, 2019 to June 28th, 2019, with the exam days being January 24th, 2019 to January the 30th, 2019, and then again in June 21st to June 27th again, obviously in 2019. Statutory holidays and breaks, September 3rd is Labor Day, and Thanksgiving will be October 8th. Family Day falls in 2019 on February 18th, and we have a later Good Friday and Easter in 2019. It'll be the end of April, April 19th, and then April 22nd, and then the May 20th will be Victoria Day holiday 2019. Our breaks, Christmas break will be December 24th to January 4th, and the March break will fall from March 11th to March 15th. So PA days are professional activity days. The ones that we're proposing at this point are September 14th, 2018, October 26th, November 23rd, and then in the new year, January 31st, April 5th, May 31st, and June 28th. We did make the school year calendar available for feedback on January 22nd, and since this time we received 17 comments from community members, from staff, and other stakeholders. So there were some concerns raised around the number of PA days that there are in a school year, with some people suggesting that we have too many. Also some concerns around a PA day being scheduled in the month of September. Some questions just around EQAO testing and how one of the dates falls within that 3-week span during the testing period. Some concerns with semester 1 end date on a Thursday, and then the semester 2 start date on a Friday. And then some people wanting to add additional days and semesters to account for inclement weather days. I think in part because we put it up for feedback on January 22nd. That may be why that last one was feedback provided in the middle of some of those inclement weather days. I will mention a couple of these here. The end date falling on a Thursday, that's due to having a balanced year for each semester with 194 school days. We have 97 on one side and 97 in the second, and that's where it happens to fall this year. The PA day falling in September. We tend to have a PA day early to take care of some of the important information that we want to make sure staff are aware of around student safety and other things from our startup memo. And the EQAO testing conflict, that is a 3-week span. EQAO now falls over quite a number of days. And like I said, it falls over 3 weeks in total, and it's 1 day in there. There's certainly lots of time to still have the testing in, even with that PA day falling during that large window that the ministry provides, and schools are able to have the testing sometime during that window, so it shouldn't impact schools. And PA days, those are set at the ministry level, and adding additional days this semester to account for inclement weather, again, kind of falls outside of the scope of the school year calendar at this point. And at this point, I'll open it up to any questions or comments.
Hey, trustees, so open it up. Anyone on the phone lines first like to comment or have a question about the calendar? Okay, at the table, Trustee Bill McPherson.
Do you still build into the first semester exams allowance for a snow day in that week? Or is that simply something at the discretion of the individual schools?
Through you, Chair, yes, that is something that we build in. There's a day that's a makeup day, and that would be something that would be included during that window.
In that week, there's no blank day.
Yes, through you, Chair. We have schools put together their drafts for the first semester one. That's when it would apply, and they have to submit those and post those before the Christmas break. And in that, there's a day accounted for that if they do have to move some things around, and make up days for students that perhaps couldn't make it for other reasons, illness and other reasons.
Any other comments or questions? Just before we move on, can you just make a brief comment on how we coordinate this with our coterminous board so we can provide the best services for our families and that our timetable is as blocked as best we can?
Sure.
Comment on that, please.
Yep, through you, Chair. Throughout this entire process, from the beginning and right up until as recently as this week, I've been in contact with my counterpart and her office and the other board, and so as my executive assistant, working with her executive assistant to coordinate the days as closely as we can. I know a lot of families and a lot of our community groups plan childcare and things on those days, and when we're coordinated, that certainly helps, and also is important for busing. So in any way that we can coordinate, we make sure that we do so.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I have a motion on the table, and it is, do I have it moved by? Okay, I have moved by Trustee Kartner and seconded by Trustee McDonald that the Upper Canada District School Board approve the 2018-2019 regular school year calendar for submission to the Ministry by May the 1st, 2018. I ask you to cast your votes, please. Trustee Wendy McPherson?
I'm good. I don't know why.
That's okay. Thank you very much. And that carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The Director of Education Award of Merit, recipients winter 2018. I'll turn this over to Director Sliwa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Trustees, it's always a great moment when I can tell you that, certainly to thank the board for providing support for authorizing the creation of this award. Each round that we've put out a request for nominations, it just gets better and better. You'll note from the report provided to you this evening that we have a record number of nominations, 41 this time. So an increase by 10% since our last request for nominations last fall. And one of the best things I can share with you is that it's a great reminder for us about how many people we have that is supporting our schools, supporting our students, supporting the board in its operational work. And I hope that you feel very proud about these people as I am this evening. The senior team had a short list that was presented to them, and we confirmed that we had, out of those 41 people, 6 very, very strong candidates that best suited the criteria. And those people are, we have Gary Kenny, who's the custodian at Rideau District High School. And Gary is recognized by his nominator as someone who's kind to all students, and they have great respect for him. He is a strong community member, and his love of Rideau District High School is obvious. You know, anybody who knows the school and has met Gary, they would be able to certainly confirm that, and I certainly had that lasting impression the first time that I met him. Our next recipient is Jen Burke, and Jen is a teacher with T.R. Leger in Brockville. And what was really compelling about Ms. Burke's presentation or nomination was that it was a number of students who came forward. One student said she was always inspiring and encouraged me to continue my work and follow my dreams. Thanks to Ms. Burke's inspiration, I've now graduated, and I'm still continuing to further my education. So it's exactly what we hope that adults do who work for us and have contact with our students, which is to inspire, support, and encourage our students to reach their dreams. We also have Leanne Huffman, and Ms. Huffman is a JKSK teacher at South Crosby Public School, and her nominator had a number of things to share that certainly surpassed our criteria for the nomination, but the one that caught our attention immediately is that how she goes beyond and above to ensure that students are nurtured as well as educated at the school. And again, while we expect that to happen with all of our staff, there was such a compelling narrative that her nominator presented that made her certainly a very worthy recipient. We also had Megan McConnell, who's a grade 6 teacher at Viscount Alexander Public School in Cornwall. And her nomination consisted of sharing with us that she's an example of a true professional who goes above and beyond to help all of her students reach their full potential. And they also identified many other things that she contributes to the school, and in fact that how she's working with other students, even when those students are not part of her class. As well, we have Peggy Roy, who's a ECE at Maple Grove Public School in Lanark. Peggy always approaches the children with kindness and meets their needs, said the nominator. She is very nurturing and loving. She has creative ideas to contribute to all our learning centers and has a passion for educating children. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, our sixth recipient for the award is Teresa Dolan, and Ms. Dolan is an EA at Brockville Collegiate Institute. And her nominator had indicated that, again, we have another person who goes above and beyond the job description. She transforms the lives of at-risk youth by treating them with respect and demonstrating an unlimited amount of patience. So again, another person who's investing in human potential and sees the goodness in the young people that we serve and work with. So we look forward to advising those people officially this evening, and to welcome them and to celebrate their successes and their contribution at our spring award ceremony that will happen in the next few weeks. So thank you for bringing that forward to you.
Thank you very much. Do I have any comments or questions? Thank you very much, Director. Okay, moving on to the next, we have I'm going to ask the Chair of SEAC, Trustee Bill McPherson, if you can give us a report from the SEAC Education Advisory Committee.
Thank you. SEAC met on the March 6, 2018, as usual in the boardroom here in Brockville. We had an extensive agenda. We had a presentation from Superintendent Phil Dawes and Andrea Walasek on communication relationship management. They talked about their program, what they do, as well as they presented us with several questions for SEAC for feedback. SEAC, as you can note, responded. They thought that seniors are still interested in what's going on in schools, and that we should put posters and information in senior homes and centers. They asked about whether or not there had been any feedback on the new website. As to some, it's harder to navigate. They talked about the challenges of social media because it does not necessarily get to the targeted audience. And also a reminder, not everyone's on social media. Although, from my experience, it seems everybody and their uncle is sometimes. They also spoke about the need for increased communications with the Akwesasne board. That came from Debbie Terrence, the Akwesasne rep on our committee. Then we moved on to a presentation on their mental health strategy. It was given by Dr. Allison Inglis and Dr. David Armstrong. They spoke about the mental health plan review, the ASSIST program. The plan is focused on the students, but the adults implementing the plan are learning as they go, or it's kind of a two-way street. They talked about the tiered approach to the model of support. They talked about mental health strategy. And everything we're doing needs to align with the director's work plan, and as well to receive feedback from Living Well Community Operations Council in the field. Then we moved on to a report by Superintendent Val Allen talking about students we serve. Essentially, this is what we call the October report, Section J. The three largest areas of support right now are learning disabilities, communication, autism, and non-identified teacher supported. Possible action items. We're still working on a possible webcast for SEAC in June of 2018. Then we covered 2 pages of the spec ed plan, and then we had the superintendent's report. It's all written down there. I'm running a wind, so I will present the report to you as printed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have any comments or questions regarding that report? Seeing there are none, I'm going to move on to the next, which is a report from the Ontario Public School Boards Association. I'll turn this over to our director, David McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We, as a board of directors, we haven't met since the last time I reported, but I will give you just a brief update. As members, as a member board, our trustees, you do receive updates on a regular basis. So you get HubSpot Connects, you get updates on any new announcements coming through. And you would have received an update on the budget highlights, but I will highlight the budget highlights very quickly. The budget was today. We did have GSN announcements earlier this week, but around education, the budget, and keep in mind this is a budget based on continuation of the government. Until that is confirmed in June, we have to assume that this is what's going to be moving forward. So an increase in education spending by 18%, $784 million investment to build 39 schools and renovate 40 existing across the province, $300 million permanent and envelope, $300 million permanent and envelope funding over 3 school years to help children with special education needs, addressed wait list backlogs for assessment and improve special education services, $140 million over 3 school years, so school boards can hire 450 more guidance counselors to help grades 7 and 8 transition into high school. $2.1 billion investment over 4 years in mental health and addiction services. Modernization curriculum and assessment tools for K-12. Measure a wider range of learning and better reflect student well-being and equity. Provide professional development and mental health literacy to educators and school staff. Provide additional funding for school mental health assist. Improve access to high-speed internet in schools, 250,000 students at 850 schools. Those would probably be the more remote and rural schools. $21 million investment over 3 years to provide students with access and exposure to arts education in dance, drama, music, and visual arts, and digital learning opportunities, including robotics, coding, assistive technologies, and digitally facilitated connections. I think from our perspective, we'll have to wait and see what the GSNs look like for us and what our piece of the pie is associated to that. but there is some additional funding coming through in some areas that we've had some pressure around special education, and certainly around some of the work that we have with transitioning students from grade 7 to 8, even though our model, I think, is well designed for that. Having individuals in the schools to help with that is also helpful moving forward. And, you know, hopefully as we move forward, we know that there's another pool of funding that's going to be there for 39 schools to be built, and 40 existing schools to be developed. We've got a good track record, so no pressure, Mr. Hobbs and your team, to be able to get us more schools on the list, but certainly that does help our infrastructure when we're able to substantially upgrade and or replace some old tired schools with some new ones. So I think it's an opportunity for us to hope that we do get the funds, but it's one of those things that's wait and see after June to see whether this comes forward or not. So other than that, Mr. Chair, not much more information coming from us.
Thank you. There's a lot of optimistic things there, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Trustee Kartner.
Just a question for our director. Do you know where our regional meeting is being held on April 7th?
It's in Renfrew, and it's in Renfrew District School Board, and I can't remember the school, but I will get that for you. That is April 7th, and then April 20th, 21st is Board of Directors. I will bring you some information, or what I will ask you to do as trustees, if you have any desire to have any changes to our policies or bylaws, that we bring that forward to our April meeting so that I can bring it to Board of Directors. But I'll send it out to the group again, just on the regional meeting location, and I can't remember the school name off the top of my head.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Trustee Bill McPherson.
Through the chair, I'm not sure who to direct this to, and I'll leave that to your discretion. Timelines. Are we expected to pass a budget based upon the provincial budget that may or may not be passed by the 7th of June? Can somebody, or basically what I'm asking is, if they bring forth a budget, will they dissolve the House before they vote on the budget?
Who knows? Who knows?
How can we form a budget if we don't have assurance that the money's going to be there? I guess that's it.
Do you want to take a stab at this, Director
sorry.
McDonald, from what you're hearing?
Yeah, it's our assumption is the GSNs are what they are, and until even if so, it's the prerogative of the government of the day that they could reintroduce a new budget at any point. But it would be our assumption that whatever's introduced as GSNs is what we have to work with until we're told otherwise.
So we got our fingers crossed again, but that's okay. It's we have to. That's the only way we can move forward.
Okay.
Thanks, David, for that. Any other comments or questions?
I guess, Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Trustee McAllister.
there are two issues here. One is whether or not the budget will be passed, whether or not the government will survive or be reelected. With regard to the first issue, the budget will definitely be passed because of the majority. But that does not mean that the contents of the budget will be fulfilled in the event that there is a change in government.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks. Okay, thanks for bringing that to our attention. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing there are none. Director, do you have, let me make sure I'm on the right page here, do you have any comments, remarks?
So, Mr. Chair, at this time, I just wanted to confirm that we are preparing for the grade 10 literacy test, which is next month. So we wish all of our students in grade 10 success as they are finalizing their preparation for that important credential. It is a graduation credential. And so we do know that our secondary schools do spend a lot of time and make sure that our students feel that they've had adequate practice in terms of test taking around the provincial assessment. We wish them luck, and we thank all of our staff who are taking steps to make sure that it's a learning event, not just a test event for our students.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is to draw everyone's attention to a young lady who's sitting at the back of the room who has joined our team during the March break. This is April Scott Clark. April is has joined the communication team, and she's a media relations specialist. I think it was during the March break you joined us, April. I don't want you to think for 1 second these meetings are this short, because I can guarantee you they're not, but this just happens to be one of those. But on behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome you and welcome you as part of our team. So welcome to Upper Canada. Also, we've got the Easter holiday break coming. I hope everyone has a wonderful time at home. Hope the Easter Bunny finds you. It's always a special time. It's more special, I guess, on a personal note. My daughter and her husband are coming home, and my mother's coming with them. So I've been busy cleaning my house. Done the toilets; they're all ready to go. So it's it's a little tense for me. Not that Mom inspects all of those things, but I think I have to be on my top of my game in terms of cleanliness. I cleaned my refrigerator the other day. Oh my Lord. Single guys should not have refrigerators. Anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday break, and we've got lots of work when we come back. Okay, moving on. We're going to be moving into private session, so I need a motion that the Upper Canada District School Board move into Committee of the Whole first. That's on March 28th. Do I have a mover? Moved by Trustee Wendy McPherson, seconded by Trustee